All right, folks, joining us today for a very special episode, Detroit Red Wings defenseman Jake Walman. Jake, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
We appreciate you taking the time in the offseason to join us. It's you get to be the first player that's gotten to join us. We've had a lot of front office, a lot of coaches, but now we get the first active player that actually step on and join us and talk a little bit about your journey, your utilization of data, and then ultimately what you like to do as a person within the community. And so to get us started here, I'm going to jump right in. Can you introduce us to Jake Walman, the person? Who did you grow up idolizing? Who do you model your game after? And then everybody always wants to know, are they going to find you on Xbox, PlayStation, or on the PC?
It's pretty much what you see in media and kind of outside the game. I don't know. I enjoy having fun. Always grown up with a good group of friends, good family, and always kind of encouraged having fun in whatever you do. And especially hockey, I've kind of always carried that mantra with me. It's working hard and having fun. And that's kind of how I play on the ice and kind of treat off ice as such. But other than that, it's just a regular life I live. It's a good life. Work hard, a lot of sacrifices, but it's everything you'd expect of the NHL. It's you work hard, you enjoy the perks of it, you have fun, and off ice it's kind of me time. Looks a lot of, like you said, gaming, video games. I'm not Xbox or PlayStation. I'm actually a PC gamer, so a little more dialed in than the average person. But Fortnite is my game. But I don't know. It's just I live happy. I try to make people happy. I enjoy life kind of to the fullest, and playing hockey is just part of it.
When did I may have asked you this before, but I think it's a great question to follow up to this. Like, when did you realize hockey could be more than just something that was fun for you? Like when you're growing up, like, is it something when you get that college offer, when you get when did you realize that this is something that could be more than just the game for you and a life thing?
Well, growing up, I played a lot of sports. I pretty much played every sport you could think of, and I thought that was really important. And that's kind of what I tell, if parents ask me what they should do with their kids, I kind of say get them in every sport, because just being an athlete, I think, really helps hockey wise. But I think it wasn't until maybe 15, 16, 17 when it was kind of hockey, soccer, and tennis for me. Those were my three big sports. And soccer ended up being, at some age, it was like a full-time commitment. So I had to kind of choose between if I wanted to do that in the winter or just forget about soccer and kind of focus on hockey. And ultimately I chose hockey. I still really didn't know what the path looked like at that point. It's just, like I said, working hard and seeing where it goes. But as you guys know, I was passed over in the OHL draft. So in the back of my head, I'm thinking, is this going to be it, or is there another option? And obviously speaking to so many people about the OHL and NCAA, really kind of put a light at the end of the tunnel for me. And obviously that was my clear path at that point. I wanted to be an NCAA player. And fortunately enough, after my minor midget year in AAA, I had a great midget year with some great coaches on the Junior Canadians, and I was fortunate enough to get a offer to play Junior A. And a couple games into Junior A, that's kind of when I started feeling that it could be something. When you see scouts in the stands, and kind of gets real at that point. Not just college scouts, but also NHL scouts. So obviously it was a real possibility for me at that point, and I'd say that's probably when I figured out to myself and that this could be a real opportunity for me, and went to college and everything worked out.
Do you think getting passed over in the OHL draft kind of make being someone from Toronto, do you think it helped you keep a little bit more of an open mind for the college route, maybe, as opposed to just, hey, I got drafted, I'm going to just go do this?
Yeah, for sure. Honestly, I didn't have any idea what the NCAA even meant growing up in Toronto. Going to high school, we had a couple kids in my grade and a year younger that were supposed to get drafted to the OHL, and those were the big shots. And it was almost like an ego killer a little bit, not to be on that OHL radar. But I found out pretty quickly that NCAA obviously was a great option. And even that first year in the NCAA, my freshman year, going all the way to the national championship and winning, it wasn't until the actual tournament hit that I was like, wow, this national championship actually means a lot in the States. I had no idea, because obviously from Toronto, I wasn't watching college hockey growing up at all. So yeah, it was an unbelievable opportunity. I think even nowadays it was always competing with the OHL, but I mean, it might be the preferred route nowadays. I'm not even sure, but a great option. There's so many great schools out there.
Yeah, building off of that a little bit, have you kept up with kind of the blossoming of the NCAA game since you've left Providence, and kind of you're seeing more and more guys go through that U.S. national team program and then going to college and spending a couple of years there, and we've seen a number of the top prospects there. Have you kept up kind of with how the NCAA has blossomed as a development league, and do you have any thoughts on how much it's really evolved over the last decade?
Yeah, I don't watch too much college hockey, but obviously being in Michigan now, it's huge. It's almost like a pro sport here, the NCAA. But I mean, I think I've always been a huge advocate of college hockey, and if you can get an education and do the thing you love at the same time, why wouldn't you take that opportunity? And I know that some of these kids are one and done or spending 2 years and leaving, but I learned so much just being a man in college and developing myself kind of off the ice. I for sure matured so much when I was in college, and I think that's if I can compare one thing to NCAA and OHL, I would say off ice, I feel like NCAA guys just have that extra year or two of hanging out with older people, kind of learning the ropes from older players. We had guys on my team that were 23, 24, and I noticed a huge growth in my maturity. Even my roommates all said it from year one to year two. It's just came in as a kid, and kind of the goal is to leave as a man. So I think it prepares you really well, and you're seeing it obviously with these top prospects choosing college or going to college for a year or two and coming in right away and making a huge impact. So that kind of says something for college.
Does it help too, having the you go to college hockey route, you're a college student, you're in with other people your age, you're walking around with people who aren't going to play hockey the rest of their life, where someone who goes the OHL route, you're kind of in that. I know they do some schooling and everything like that, but it's kind of the bubble, right? And so like for you, you're a pretty well-rounded guy. We've talked about a lot of interesting non-hockey stuff before. Like, I'm sure that's something too that you think about. You're 19, 20 years old. You're part of the world and not just a hockey bubble at that point. I'm sure that's a nice element too that kind of helps with your growth, right?
Yeah, for sure. I've met so many people along the way in hockey, but I would say that probably my lasting relationships even after hockey is going to be mostly with those kids that I met in school, or connections that I have through school, whether that's people in the workplace that went to the same school or kind of went that same route. I go on, obviously we travel across the States for our job, but in pretty much every city I go, I have somebody that I know from college, and that was a regular student. And I keep these friendships alive. And I just think it's really important to along the way kind of separate yourself from hockey. Half these guys have no idea how hockey works. It's just kind of a different conversation with them. And it's good. It's all knowledge. And at some point when hockey's done, these are going to be the guys that have been in the workforce for 20 years already. So whether or not that leads to something or not, it's good to have those connections. And obviously those are the ones that I'm going to keep forever.
I want to talk a little bit about your kind of development and journey from, Providence to then the St. Louis organization, and then ultimately, landing in Detroit a couple of years ago. As you've progressed as a player and developed as a player, the role of data has become huge in hockey, and particularly at the front office and coaching level. One of the things I think I'm always curious about is from a player perspective, when people are talking about data to you from a game-to-game situation, how much of that is helpful, how much of that is actionable, and sort of what are you focusing on when you're working to refine your game as those numbers or kind of different metrics are being discussed with you?
You know what? To be honest, we don't really hear too much about the like those extended stats or however you guys call them, but obviously it's more of a coaching staff, general manager thing, I think. We kind of get like the watered down version of that. Like, hey, if this number is low, like let's try and tell this guy he needs to be better in the D zone, or just kind of subtly bring that up. But it's not really like number game to game as much as it is, let's build our game into the areas that we need to work on. And as you said, kind of, we take those, every player kind of knows, already, like let's say at the end of the year, every player knows what they want to work on going into summer. It's not so much the underlying numbers that they need to, let's say I need to get a better plus minus. So I got to figure out how to work on that in the off season. It's more so like, what little part of my game can I tweak in the summer, whether that's goal scoring or breaking a puck out or something that's going to help your game individually. I would say that's probably what most guys are thinking going into summer. For me, for example, I found that this year and last year I had a lot of opportunities in the slot, or like when I get a puck out from the corner and I have almost like a one-on-one with the goalie, but it's not a deke, it's a shot. So this summer and last summer, it's, for example, I'm getting those same instances or scenarios where a coach is passing it out and I'm really focusing on burying the puck. So that's kind of the things that's something that I work on in the summer. I'm sure every player has something different, but it's those little things that you kind of notice in your own game that's going to help your overall game. And most players know what that is with their own game.
Is there enough time in the season to work on that stuff anymore? Because you guys as a team in Detroit practice actually a little bit more than most other teams. But you look, a lot of NHL teams don't practice a ton. Like, is there time to actually work on stuff like that as much as you'd like in the regular season, or is that one of the reasons that this summer push becomes so important?
Yeah, I think during the season, after practice, after morning skate, I think there's times to kind of just remind yourself of habit. I wouldn't really say it's perfecting or working like to perfect it. I would say that's mostly in the summer. I'm just thinking personally about shots. Like after a practice, I'm always working on that type of thing that I want to work on and get better at, like burying the puck. I'll maybe take 5 or 10 at the end of practice and that's it. But I would say in the off season is probably the time you have so much time on the ice, extra time with whoever you want. You can hire whoever you want. We have a great opportunity where I train, in Toronto. We have free ice pretty much every day, anytime we want it. So I'd say that's the time to work on your craft a little more and, try to perfect things. I'd say in the season, it's more habit stuff that you're working on.
So, kind of along those lines, in season and off season, one of the other things that is always curious for us is the rise of kind of biometric data when it comes to training. And if, how much of that is really focused on for you guys when you're training in terms of, paying attention to heart rates or paying attention to, what's an optimal shift length for you or something along those lines. Like, is there something that goes into that level of detail for you when you're training in the off season or during the season?
Yeah, I'd say, somewhat, but where I train, we're really old school. So there's no heart rate. There's no, measurements on that. It's if you're tired, you're working hard type of thing. But, we're really old school. I train with Matt Nickel in Toronto. I've been with him for 10 years. We have a great group of guys. We just, every year we're recruiting new guys to come, but, everybody loves it. Matt's he didn't play hockey at all. And I know most guys in the summer, they try to get somebody that played that to train them or on the ice. He gets other guys to run the on ice, but off ice, he really is a wizard with how to kind of work your body and the right phases to do. I can't say enough good things about him, but he really dials everybody in to kind of be at their peak going right into training camp. Don't know how he does it, but he knows everybody to a T pretty much. He doesn't, I've been with him long enough that he kind of knows that my schedule is going to be different from some other guy and another guy. Everybody's is kind of different, but, I would say in the summer, that's when most guys are trying to, I'm not sure how other training people work, but like I said, we're old school. We go hard, we have fun, and he makes us ready for the regular season.
So you still get to train with Matt this summer. I know he got the job with Ottawa, so he was. I was on my list of questions here. If you had to go shopping for another trainer, if they're still going to be able to work out this summer with Matt, so is that still working?
Yeah, no, he's here in the summer. I sent him a text when all that happened. I gave him some shit, but no, he's with us in the summer and hasn't recruited too many of those Ottawa guys over to us, so that's good.
When it comes to working with him, I know who gave you the pitch of come work with Matt? Like you talk about the recruiting part. So like who was the guy that got you to come work with him in the first place?
So it was Tom Wilson that got me there. And back then it was probably 10 years ago. It was really hard to even get a hold of Matt. He was the creator of BioSteel. He was this big trainer that everybody wanted to train with, and only a certain amount of guys could. Obviously really good at what he does, but I was lucky enough because I actually played hockey with Tom's younger brother, Jamie, and my dad became really close with his dad. And when it was kind of time for college and the college coaches said that I needed to start putting some weight on, we had to look for a trainer, and my dad went to Tom's dad and said, hey, is there any chance that we can get into Matt? And Matt gave me the opportunity, saw me as a up-and-coming kid, and I was really fortunate enough my first year before Providence to kind of get in with Matt, and he showed me the ropes. And obviously, aside from college, that was a huge way of maturing for me, just being with Matt and those older NHL guys.
Last one kind of on that topic there. So you mentioned Tom. I know Tyler Seguin trains there in the summer too. Like for you, what's it kind of like to pick and pull hockey thoughts, ideas from these guys that you're not teammates with in the summer and to kind of better yourself from that experience? And then I'm kind of curious, like, is it something where are those the guys you get together, you say hi to before the game on the road or anything like that? Like, what's that kind of like?
Yeah, exactly. You're right. Those are the guys after the game that you kind of know and saying hi to. It's kind of a weird dynamic, honestly, when you're in the summer and then you kind of ship off to your respective teams during the year. But, the hockey world is so tight. You could hate a guy on the ice. And then right when you get to the same gym, it's like buddy, like right away, you kind of forget the animosity, but, that's just hockey. Everything kind of stays on the ice. But yeah, it is cool. I think you can pick from certain guys, kind of their style, and obviously every team is different. So when they come back, they're doing different things with their team. I think where it really benefits me knowing these guys and playing with them in the summer is when you kind of play them in the game, you almost know them like it's your teammate because you've been on the ice with them all summer, and not necessarily makes it easier, but you kind of know their tendencies and what they like to do, like maybe what they've been working on this summer. So, but like you said, it's a lot of brain picking and friendships that you make. These are the guys that I'm going golfing with in the summers and hanging out with for dinner and stuff like that. So it's cool. It's just another group away from your team, I guess. It's like your summer crew. And everybody has a group. I guess I'm lucky to have a really good group here in Toronto.
That's awesome. One of the things I wanted to highlight, kind of in I guess maybe it's tangential to that, but I want to shift gears a little bit to since you've joined the Wings and kind of how you've embraced the Detroit community with a lot of your efforts to give back and notably the kind of fundraising support for Vladimir Konstantinov this past year. I want to talk a little bit just as a player, stepping into a new, city, stepping into a new community. What are you thinking about when you're going to connect with the fans, the organization, the media in terms of setting up that community effort? Because one of the things I think I've greatly appreciated about you since you've joined is just how quickly you dove right into that and everything you've done. And so I just wanted to see if you'd be able to highlight a little bit of what you've done and kind of how you approach that. Yeah.
Well, thanks for noticing that. Before I get into that extra, like charitable stuff, I guess I'll just say that as a hockey player, you're almost looked upon as like not human in a way. And it kind of almost, it doesn't bug me, but when I was a kid, I always looked up to these NHLers as wow, like, I don't know if I want to go up to this guy. It was almost really intimidating because these guys, they're so stoic, like they treat themselves like in such a way and they act a certain way, even in their day-to-day lives. It's almost nerve-wracking to go up to them. And I remember as a kid saying, wow, like that's so-and-so. I'm dad, like I'm nervous to go say hi, but I really want to say hi. And I've kind of treated this professional life personally as I always want to make somebody feel comfortable to come up to me. Like I want to be that joyful person that, some kid can see me in a mall and hit the gritty in front of me and I'll laugh at it or something like that. I want kids to feel, and parents and whoever, fans, to feel comfortable coming to say hi. I'm just human. We're all just human. Most of us are really nice guys, off the ice, but that's kind of my background of it. Just knowing how it is as a kid. Always wanted to take pictures with the Leafs guys or somebody famous that I knew, whether it was a tennis player, hockey player, whatever. So that's the background of it. And then as an athlete, I feel like we have a responsibility to kind of use our platform in a way that could benefit and make other people happy that aren't necessarily as fortunate. We're very lucky to be in this position. Obviously, a lot of things have to line up to get here. So that's kind of where I come from with the charitable stuff. And I want to do a lot more. I have a lot of big plans for Detroit, and I hope I can play here forever because I have so many things I want to do. Just trying to balance it with hockey. I really got to obviously make that the forefront, focus on hockey, make sure I'm good every night. But with the gritty stuff and the Konstantinov, I think it was a good collab that we did. I'm coming up there in a couple weeks to present the Boys and Girls Club with a nice check and donation from that sale that we did with that company. And like I said, I'm really big on kind of embracing the community and wanting to be a part of that, whether that's hospital visits or kids in need, kids that can't play hockey, kids that can't afford to play hockey. I think that's a huge responsibility for us and me personally. So, there's a lot more coming for sure, with me in the city of Detroit. I'm excited. I just got to, slow it down a little bit and play hockey and win a championship here. And then we can, keep going with all that other stuff.
Do you think the on-ice personality helps break down some of that wall? Like you talked about being nervous as a kid, about like going up to, and so much of, there's a lot of the hockey mentality I remember watching growing up where it was like, oh, it's team first. And I think it just kind of, it humanizes the on-ice personality, in my view, humanizes people off the ice too. And I'm curious in kind of your view, do you think it goes a little way to kind of break down some of that wall of making people realize, hey, these are other humans playing the game. Mm-hmm. Do you think that kind of helps?
Yeah, exactly. I do it for that reason. You see my celebrations and stuff. I try to be personable on the ice. I do it for that reason. I also do it for myself. I just enjoy the trends. I'm kind of on TikTok, like I'm on all these apps that people and athletes are kind of having personalities. And I think hockey players especially kind of get a bad rap for not being personable and being so business-like. So I really wish that other guys will step up eventually and kind of break those barriers, like you said. I think there's so much room for it. That's honestly part of the charitable stuff that I'm going to be doing. It'll come out hopefully at some point. We're working on it, but kind of getting those personalities out, because I know I see these guys off the ice. I know what they're like. So many guys have personalities, and whether they're not able to show it or they don't want to show it. I mean, I'm trying to create a platform where guys can be themselves and kind of show off a little bit. But like I said, the fans enjoy it. I think they'd rather have somebody that's personable than not. And then, yeah, like I said, the celebration stuff I've kind of pulled from certain people or certain athletes that I've seen do it. And for example, when I go to a football game and I'm watching the Lions and I see somebody that isn't a superstar, let's say, but he makes a play or something and he does some cool celebration or gets people fired up and shows some personality, I was like, I want to get that guy's jersey. Like, I want to represent that guy. Like, that's my guy, you know? So stuff like that, I kind of think there's, especially the non-superstars and the guys that kind of have a little more leeway, let's say, and won't get scrutinized as much to do it. I think it's a good opportunity. There's so much opportunity for guys to do it.
No, I totally agree. And I think that's what has allowed everybody to embrace you so much. You know, one of the funniest things that you may or may not be aware of is when you were, you know, I think it was your first full season, not this past season, but the year before, when a lot of your metrics looked off the charts, and I started tweeting out Jake Walman for Norris, and everybody gravitated towards this to the point where somebody brought me the graph to sign. So what I want to make sure now is if somebody brings one to you next year, you will also sign it for them, because there's a couple out there circulating with my handwriting on there that have no business being there because it's just on the back of your terrific play.
Oh, sounds good. No, for sure. You know what? Hockey wise, we haven't really talked about that much, but it's a huge summer for me. You know, it was a little bit of an eye opener this year with certain things that went on, and ideally as a player you want stuff to be smooth sailing, but hockey wise I think there's such an opportunity for our team next year, and I want to be a huge part of that, and starts in the summer. So I think we all kind of left this year thinking that we want way more, we deserve way more with this group that we have, and I think you'll see that next year we're going to take a step up individually and then as a team.
For you specifically, one of the things that came up a lot this year, and you obviously play most of the season with Mo, right? And that was one of the things where there's a ton of discourse around Mo's usage this year. That was a big hockey Twitter topic of he gets the hardest minutes, and you're right up there too with some of the hardest minutes since you're right there with him. When you look at, as someone who is right next to him all the time, and yourself as well, how do you kind of look and embrace that challenge and look at how kind of using that to quantify when you're getting the Crosbys, you're getting the McDavids, you're getting the McKinnons, you're getting those guys every night? How do you kind of work on gauging success as a defenseman?
Yeah, it's a good question, because there's so many different people out there, whether that's Twitter or what, that have their own opinion on success, obviously, right? You guys are at the forefront of that. But, I mean, Mo and I will be the first ones to tell you that, doesn't matter if we get scored against or whatnot, that we want to be right back out there. It's not going to deter us from anything. Those are the types of minutes that, are the hardest, obviously, against the top guys in the league, but there's no other place that a competitor wants to be. And that's, I mean, I can speak for myself, but I can also speak for Mo. And I know he, really embraces it. He's going to be a superstar for a long time. it's not flashy all the time, but he does everything really, really well. He's a full round player. I think that's exactly what every team would want as a top defenseman. Can't say enough good things about him, but like I said, I think he has that competitiveness, that edge. And I'm right there with him. I want to be on his left side. I want to compete against those top guys. And I think, it's not always going to be pretty, but, it's just getting the job done at the end of the day. And, if you're shutting down or partially shutting down these top guys, then you're helping your team win. And ultimately that's going to look good on the scoreboard at the end. So it's not so much, like you said, the, metrics and all those stats that, Twitter hockey people like to use. It's when it comes down to it, I think for me personally, it's the eye test. If your teammate can compete with this guy on the other side, and, the coaches know, general managers know, you can see who can compete with those guys and who can, play with them. And, for me, Mo's, it's hard usage, but, Mo does a really, really good job at it. And I love playing with him.
Yeah, Mo told me near the end of the season we need to find a way to quantify properly won shifts, because it's such a subjective thing, right? Where if you start in the defensive zone against a McDavid or something like that, winning that shift is different than if you start in the offensive zone late or whatever. So he talked a lot about that. I wanted to, you kind of touched on this, and I think I know your answer, but one of the things, we reached out to you to come onto the show, and you said yes, it wasn't a big deal. And you've talked about kind of breaking down that wall of the human level of this. And you're one of the guys that when we go into the locker room every day, when it's available, you're one of the guys that's always there. We may annoy you sometimes, but you're there to talk all the time. And just from a perspective of kind of, from a player perspective, I like to use my very selfish thing where I like to say a guy like you gets it, gets what we're trying to do as a media, from a media entity. And so from your player perspective, I wanted to give you a chance to answer that question. What do you view the role of us, the hockey media, when it comes to covering this game and what it is?
Well, you know what? I've had a little bit of a unique experience with that, and I know a lot of people have similar experiences, but I'm not going to rag on anybody at all, but you can tell where I'm going with this. Being in St. Louis was totally different feel from being here in Detroit. Obviously, it wasn't the best 3 years personally, especially coming in as a young player, wanting to make a name for myself and be pro with not much opportunity in St. Louis. It was really hard to enjoy the little things, and little things I would include this reporting and Twitter and news writers, all this stuff. So I really I kind of took the time to when I started being a full-time NHLer in Detroit, I kind of took the time to step back and realize that you guys and your media presence in Detroit is just a 180 from what I was kind of experiencing in St. Louis, and other guys experience it too in other teams. But it really means a lot to a player when they're doing something well, if it's being noticed, even if they're not necessarily playing at their level or what they need to be doing. I found that you guys in Detroit have almost let off and kind of, if there's nothing good to talk about, you just won't talk about it, so we're only kind of promoting these players, and I feel like that's just a 180 here from my experience where I was before. And like you've heard, Sean, I've thanked you guys before numerous times, but it really I think players really appreciate it. Obviously in the end, you guys want to have a good connection with the players. They're the ones that are giving you the juicy content. So I think having a good relationship with the players and the reporters is huge. I know that it for sure gets into guys' heads. And where I was in St. Louis, I have a couple examples individually. I won't say it, but everybody kind of sees it, like you can write something on Twitter. Every player in the NHL is on Twitter. There's the new thing now that you kind of get tweets on your timeline that you're not even, I don't know, subscribed to or whatever, but you just see it because of mutual. So everybody sees what everybody writes about them. You try and stay off it as much as possible, but at that point, it's the positive message are for sure the ones that resonate with the guys. And I'm fortunate to be here in Detroit. I think you guys have done a great job.
I have a funny story for you on this. So about 5 or 6 years ago, I was covering Dallas, and I give credit to, actually, he's now the assistant GM for the San Jose Sharks, Tom Holy. Tom Holy was the head of Stars PR at the time and is now an assistant GM at San Jose. And I had a tweet after Jamie Benn had been struggling recently, and I did probably a dumb tweet about his level of play at the time. And a couple days later, I was talking to Tom, and Tom's like, I'm never going to tell you what to tweet, but I'm just going to remind, and this was me, this was probably about 5 or 6 years ago. And he has like, just so you know, everyone in that room knows everything that is said about Jamie. So just remember that, and it's one of those things that I've always thought about that. And I give a ton of credit to Tom not as a PR guy coming down on me, telling me what to write, but just being a human to human conversation over a coffee of like, look, sometimes if you lose the plot and forget that they're people, they're never going to talk to you as people. So that's something That's my own personal experience on it. So
exactly. You know, everybody that's in that room and what they've written. And, I mean, in Detroit, it's been a good road so far, but like I said, certain situations and scenarios where you kind of like, and then it's like, if you guys ever need something from a player or want a story, it's obviously, like I said, I join your thing and no problem, because I've seen stuff that you've written, and I've seen how you treat other guys, and I have no problem doing that for people that respect us as humans. So it's a total change, and I'm happy that I'm here.
No, that's very well said. I think it's a learning curve for a lot of folks to just remember that you guys are humans. Imagine if somebody was following us around all day and critiquing every single thing that we did,
and trying to like do things for likes or retweets or whatever it is. People just write silly things just to troll, and I mean it is kind of the world of trolling right now. I guess so many like super social media stars and stuff like that are getting famous for writing whatever they want and whatever. It's not my way. I like to be treated as a human and think everybody should be like that.
Couldn't agree more, and we really appreciate that. So to sum everything up, I got one final question for you. You had 12 goals this past year, hit the gritty. You got another goal celebration cooked up for us this coming year? Something unique?
I don't know. Hopefully a couple more trends come out this summer. I still have a couple that I've been stored away keeping, but it has to be the right time. It has to be a game winner or a huge goal or something like that. But the celebrations aren't going to stop. And I haven't said why one of the main reasons I do it is Alex Ovechkin was my idol growing up, hockey idol. And I got the chance to get a stick last year, but that's besides the point. I've always loved his enthusiasm and how fired up he gets for goals. So he's never done the gritty, but I know that he loves his celebrations. So that's kind of what fires me up too.
I love it. Well, if I can make a plug, I'd like you to bring back that Fortnite swashbuckling stick move that you went for, I think, many years ago.
The AHL, you saw that one?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I've seen that one. So I want to see that one back after a penalty shot or a shootout.
That was when I was first getting into Fortnite, and that's how you farm in Fortnite. So.
I love it. Well, I want to see that one back. And Jake, we hope you have a tremendous offseason. I just want to thank you again for, taking the time to join us, and looking forward to a tremendous year, like you said, in Detroit, and hopefully a successful playoff run next year.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me, boys. I appreciate it.
All right, folks. That's Jake Walman, Detroit Red Wings defenseman.